Every single offseason, the same question gets asked about this team over and over on every show, in every barbershop, in every group chat. What is the one piece the Lakers are missing to get Luka Doncic a championship? And tonight, I was watching the show, and they were having that exact debate going back and forth about what this roster needs to finally break through. And then Shams Charania said something that made me sit straight up, because his answer wasn't a theory or a wish. His answer was a guy who has already won a title doing the exact job the Lakers need done. So stay with me, because I think the missing piece just became available, and he comes with a ring to prove he knows how to use it. Here's what Shams said, cutting right through the debate. According to sources, the Los Angeles Lakers have shown real interest in a trade for Brooklyn Nets forward Michael Porter Jr. The 6'10" sharpshooting forward, an NBA champion, potentially headed to Los Angeles to become the perfect complementary star next to Luka Doncic. Michael Porter Jr. next to Luka. Read that again, because if you understand what makes Luka Doncic so devastating, and you understand what Michael Porter Jr. actually does on a basketball court, you understand that this might be the cleanest, most natural fit on the entire market. And I'm here to explain why, because this isn't a gamble on potential, this is a proven formula. Now, I already know some of you are going to bring up the defense, and we're going to get to that, I promise, because I always give you the honest version, but stay with me, because the offensive fit here is so good, it might just be worth it. Let me start with where Michael Porter Jr. actually is, because this is a story that's moved around. A few years ago, Porter was a key piece of a championship team. In Denver, he helped the Nuggets win the 2023 NBA title, playing the perfect third option next to two stars, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. His job was simple and devastating. Space the floor, knock down threes over everybody, and score off the gravity those stars created. He was brilliant at it. Then last summer, in a cost-cutting move, Denver traded him to the Brooklyn Nets. And in Brooklyn, on a rebuilding team, he got to show a different side of his game, stepping into the #1 role and putting up a career year, averaging around 24 to 25 points a night while shooting the lights out. So he's proven two things now. He can be the perfect complementary piece on a champion, and he can carry a scoring load when asked. That's a rare and valuable combination, and here's why he's available. The Nets are deep in a rebuild, and Michael Porter Jr. is entering the final year of his contract, set to make around $40 million next season, for a team that isn't close to contending and is focused on its young core and future picks. An expensive veteran on an expiring deal is exactly the kind of asset you cash in for future value. NBA insiders have reported that Brooklyn is open to trading him for the right price, and he's been named one of the top trade candidates of the entire offseason. So you've got a proven championship pedigree, elite shooting forward on an expiring contract available from a team with every reason to deal him. That's a door, and it's wide open. So now let me tell you exactly who the Lakers would be getting, because this is the heart of it. Michael Porter Jr. is a 6'10" forward who shoots like a guard. This is a career 40% three-point shooter, a guy whose career splits are roughly 49% from the field, 40% from three, and 81% from the line, which is elite efficiency. He takes half his shots from beyond the arc and drains them at a high rate, and because he's 6'10", he shoots right over the top of almost any defender who tries to contest. There is no closeout that bothers him, because he just rises up and fires over your outstretched hand. He's also a genuinely good finisher at the rim and a strong rebounder for a wing. He is, in short, one of the most efficient, dangerous size and shooting combinations in the entire league. So now let's talk about why this fits Luka Doncic so perfectly, because this is the part that should get you out of your seat. But first, let me give you the full story on this guy, because it makes the talent even more impressive. Coming out of college, Michael Porter Jr. was considered one of the most gifted scoring prospects in his entire draft class. The kind of talent some evaluators thought could go #1 overall. The only reason he slid down the board to the 14th pick was a back injury that required surgery and cost him essentially his entire first season. So right from the start, this was a top of the draft talent who simply needed his body to cooperate, and it did. He fought back from those early health scares to become a key contributor, and then a champion, and now a guy who just put up a career-best scoring season. Think about the journey there. A player who was once a potential #1 pick, who overcame serious back issues, who won a title playing the perfect role next to an MVP, and who has now proven he can also be a primary scorer. And here's what makes the archetype so special. A true 7-footer who shoots 40% from 3 is one of the rarest, most valuable things in all of basketball. There are maybe a handful of players on the planet who combine that size with that shooting touch. When one of them becomes available, you pay attention because you cannot find this in the draft or in free agency. You can only find it in a trade like this one. Now let's talk about the fit with Luka because it's almost too clean. He is one of the greatest offensive engines and passers the game has ever seen. A player who lives in the pick and roll, who collapses defenses, who draws 3 defenders and then finds the open man with a pass most players couldn't even see. A player like that has one fundamental need above all others: shooters. Specifically big, reliable shooters who can punish defenses for helping off them. And here's the beautiful part: Michael Porter Jr. just spent years winning a championship doing precisely that next to Nikola Jokic, another ball-dominant, pass-first superstar big. The role Luka needs filled is the exact role Porter already mastered on a title team. Think about that. You're not asking him to learn something new or take on a job he's never done. You're handing him the same role he won a ring playing, just with a different brilliant passer feeding him. Picture it. Luka drives, the defense collapses, and he kicks it to a 6'10" sniper standing in the corner who shoots 40% and rises up over the closeout. That's not a good shot. That's a back-breaking shot. And because Porter is so dangerous, defenses can't help off him to load up on Luka's drives, which means Luka gets even more room to operate. They make each other better. It's the kind of two-way offensive relationship that wins playoff games. The kind of spacing that turns a great offense into an unstoppable one. For a Lakers team that has searched for the right kind of size and shooting around Luka, Porter isn't just a fit, he's the prototype. So now let's talk about how this would actually work, because the contract is the key and there's an interesting angle to it. Porter's expiring $40 million deal is a big number, but an expiring contract is actually a useful trade piece because it gives the receiving team flexibility down the road. To get him, the Lakers would have to match that salary, which likely means building a package around significant outgoing money, potentially including an Austin Reeves sign and trade if his situation gets complicated, plus other contracts and draft assets. It would take creativity, no doubt. But here's the thing, because Porter is on an expiring deal and the Nets are rebuilding, the actual cost and premium assets might be more reasonable than you'd think for a player of his caliber. This is a team cashing in a veteran, not demanding a king's ransom for a cornerstone. And the Lakers, a franchise that has never been shy about a bold, win-now swing, have the motivation to make it work for a player who fits Luka this perfectly. And let me put the spacing into hard terms, because once you understand the geometry of it, you'll never unsee it. Defenses today are built on help and rotations. When Luka drives, the whole defense is supposed to collapse, with one defender stepping up to stop the ball and others rotating to cover. But you can only leave a man to help if that man isn't a threat. The moment you put a 40% shooter in the corner, helping off him becomes suicide, because Luka will find him and he'll drain it. Now make that shooter 6'10", so even a hard on-time closeout doesn't matter, because he just shoots over it. What you've done is take away the defense's single most important tool against a great driver and passer, the help defender. You've essentially told the defense, you cannot send extra bodies at Luka, and you cannot leave Porter, so pick your poison. There is no good answer. That's not just good spacing. That's a structural problem you've handed the other team on every single possession. And over the course of a playoff series, those structural advantages are exactly what break a defense down and win you games in May and June. This is the math that makes a great offense into a historically great one. But I told you I'd be honest with you, so let's take the doubts head on, because on this one there are a couple of real ones. The first and biggest objection is the defense. Michael Porter Jr. has never been known as a strong defender, and pairing him with Luka, who has his own defensive questions, raises a legitimate concern about that end of the floor. I won't wave it away because it's real, but here's the counter. First, in Denver, Porter was a perfectly functional defensive piece on a championship team because he was surrounded by the right personnel and a scheme that hid his weaknesses and leveraged his size and length. The Lakers would have to build the rest of their roster the same way, with rim protection and switchable defenders around him. Second, his offensive value is so enormous that it can absolutely outweigh his defensive shortcomings if the supporting cast is right. Championship teams have ridden elite shooting, score-first forwards before. The question is whether the Lakers can build the defense around him, and that's a real challenge, but it's a solvable one. The second objection is his health history. Earlier in his career, Porter dealt with serious back issues that required multiple surgeries, and that's a fair thing to bring up. But here's the context. That was years ago, and since then he's been remarkably durable and productive, playing heavy minutes and carrying a huge scoring load this past season. He's proven his body can handle the workload of an NBA season. The risk is worth acknowledging, but his recent track record of availability is strong. The third objection is the price and the fact that he's on an expiring deal. Why give up assets for a guy who could walk after a year? But here's the thing, the Lakers would hold his rights and could work to extend him if the fit is as good as it looks. And even as a one-year proposition, adding a proven championship piece to maximize a season with Luka in his prime is exactly the kind of win-now move a contender should make. You don't pass on the perfect fit because of the calendar. And let me put this in the context of the conference they have to conquer, because it raises the stakes even higher. The Western Conference is a meat grinder, loaded with elite teams and elite scorers, and to survive 4 rounds out there, you need to be able to put points on the board in a half-court playoff grind, where easy baskets disappear and every possession is a battle. That's exactly when a player like Porter becomes invaluable. When the game slows down and the defense tightens up, you need guys who can create a clean look out of nothing, and a 6'10" shooter who can rise up and fire over a contest is the definition of a reliable playoff bucket. Defenses can scheme away a lot of things in a playoff series, but they cannot scheme away pure height plus pure shooting. It's unguardable by design. For a Lakers team that has to find a way to out-execute the monsters of the West, adding that kind of matchup-proof scoring next to Luka isn't a luxury. It's close to a necessity. It's the kind of weapon that decides a Game 7. So let me tell you where my head is at, and then I've got one final thought that I think is the real key to all of this. If the Lakers pull this off, they give Luka Doncic the exact kind of weapon every great offensive engine dreams about. A 6'10" sniper who spaces the floor, scores in bunches, and has already proven he can do it on a championship team. Picture this offense with Luka orchestrating and Porter raining down threes over the top of helpless defenders. Picture the spacing, the gravity, the sheer scoring power of that pairing. Whether it wins a title comes down to building the defense correctly, and that's the real debate. But the offensive ceiling of a Luka and Porter combination is genuinely frightening, and the Lakers have always been a franchise willing to chase exactly this kind of star-on-star firepower. And here's the thought I want to leave you with, the part almost nobody is connecting. The hardest thing to find in basketball isn't a scorer. It's the perfect complementary star, the guy who fits seamlessly next to your superstar without needing the ball, who makes your best player better just by standing on the floor. Those players are incredibly rare, and they almost never become available. But right now, there's one sitting on a rebuilding team in Brooklyn, a proven champion who has already played this exact role on a title team, who happens to be the ideal stylistic match for the superstar the Lakers are building around. When a fit that clean, that proven, becomes available, the smart contenders don't hesitate. They pounce, because pieces like this win you championships, and the opportunity is sitting right there. So let me boil it all the way down for you, because I want this crystal clear. A ball-dominant offensive genius in Luka, who needs elite shooting around him more than anything. A 6'10" sniper who has already won a championship playing that exact complementary role next to a similar superstar. An expiring contract that makes him gettable from a rebuilding team with every reason to deal. The defensive and contract questions are real, but the offensive fit is about as perfect as anything you'll find on the market. When a proven champion who fits your superstar this cleanly becomes available, the contenders that win it all are the ones with the nerve to go get him. The Lakers have always been exactly that kind of franchise. I'm not telling you it's signed. I have no reporting that says the ink is dry, and I am never going to make something up for you, because the only reason you keep coming back to me is that I shoot you straight, even when the honest version includes real questions about defense and a complicated contract. Those questions are real, but I am telling you the talent is real, the championship pedigree is real, the fit with Luka is just about perfect, and a 6'10" sniper who's already won a ring is a rare prize. And tonight, Shams Charania put the Lakers right into that conversation on national television. You stack all of that up, the fit and the pedigree and the sheer offensive ceiling, and you can feel it, can't you? This one would just make sense.